Colonel Harlan David Sanders was born on September 9, 1890, near Henryville, Indiana. Tragedy struck when Sanders was only 6 years old when his father died. As the eldest of 3 siblings, Sanders took on responsibilities beyond his age to help support his family. He cooked meals and took care of his brothers while his mother worked.
I was born here on this little 80-acre farm in southern Indiana. I was the oldest of 3 children when my father died. Well, that left 3 little tots with a widowed mother. So she had to sew for the neighbors around over the country, don't you see, for her cash money. Well, that left me to do the cooking for the 3 children and be the housemaid.
Sanders credited his difficult upbringing and his no-nonsense mother for instilling in him the strong work ethic that led to his success.
I used to work here on this farm when I was a boy. This was the first job that I ever had. I worked here for Charlie Norris. I was 10 years old at that time. So at the end of that first month, he fired me and sent me home. Said he wouldn't feed me for me. So I went home, took my $2 to my mother. And when I gave her the $2 that I had gotten for the month's work and told her that Mr. Norris had fired me, she gave me a little lecture that I shall never forget. She said, "What on earth are you ever going to amount to? You're my oldest son, the oldest of the 3 children. You've got no father. I got nobody to help me depend on but you. And to think that you're so no count that you couldn't hold a job at $2 a month." Well, time she got through tongue lashing me, I felt just about as low as anybody could have ever felt. And I made a resolve then that I would never let hours or work or anything else ever interfere with me doing the best job as possible. And if I ever got another job, I was sure going to prove to her that I was worthy of it.
In addition to working on farms, Sanders practiced law for a few years until he punched his own client in the courtroom. During World War I, he worked as a midwife. In 1909, while working on the railroads in Alabama, Sanders met and married Josephine King, with whom he eventually had 3 children. Sadly, his only son with Josephine, Harlan Jr., died at age 20 following a tonsillectomy. By 1929, the family had settled in Corbin, Kentucky, where Sanders operated a service station for the Shell Oil Company. It was there that Sanders and his wife branched out into the restaurant business.
When I first came down to this country, this was the first service station that I had. After I was here about 30 days, I moved the old dining room table out, don't you see, and the 6 chairs, and decided we'd try to sell some food to some people that was stopping with us.
In 1931, Sanders heard that a competing service station owner named Matt Stewart was painting over some of his business signs. The infamously hot-headed Sanders decided to confront Stewart with 2 Shell Oil executives as backup. The incident ended badly for all parties when Stewart shot and killed one of the executives before being shot in the shoulder by Sanders. Eventually, Sanders shuttered the gas station portion of his business and dedicated the entire building to the restaurant. Guests loved his simple, home-cooked food, and he was listed in Duncan Hines' Adventures in Good Eating. Sanders worked hours on end to perfect his fried chicken, concocting his secret recipe of 11 spices and herbs, but the perfect cook time eluded him. In 1935, Sanders received the honorary commission of colonel, and from then on became known as Colonel Sanders. And 4 years later, with the invention of the pressure cooker, the colonel finally found Chicken Valhalla. In 1955, as the colonel neared retirement at the ripe old age of 65, his restaurant business dried up due to the construction of a new highway. He auctioned off the restaurant and began touring the country with his pressure cooker, hoping to start a chicken franchise. Things were slow at first, but within 7 years there were more than 600 Kentucky Fried Chicken outlets, and the colonel was wealthier than he'd ever been.
You see, I only got a nickel on every chicken that they sold. But you'd be surprised how fast those nickels added up. By golly, I finally got up to where I had an income of $1,000 a day.
In January 1965, he sold most of his business in exchange for $2 million and a lifetime salary. As part of the deal, he agreed to do publicity work for the growing company. Colonel Sanders became a household name. With his crisp white suit, long thin tie, impeccable beard, and smooth southern tones, as he sold chicken to homes across America via numerous television ads that ran throughout the 1970s.
Putting out our hunger.
Oh, well, I see you're using my chicken, too.
Why is your chicken so good?
Well, it's that secret recipe of 11 different spices and herbs. And then
The Colonel became notorious for stopping at his beloved chicken franchises and berating those whose product he found subpar. The techniques behind fast food never sat well with the cantankerous Colonel, causing numerous spats between him and the parent company. Nevertheless, Sanders remained loyal to the brand, promoting it well into his 80s. While he could be tough, Colonel Sanders was also generous. During one of his many road trips, the Colonel picked up a hitchhiker on his way to college. The Colonel went to the administration office and paid off the student's tuition.
when I started this chicken business, I prayed to God that if he'd make it a success, I'd see that his cause was always remembered and taken care of first. No use being the richest man in the cemetery. I thank God, though I think, paid my debt a whole lot to him since then, since I would come into money and ability to do it, which is, for that reason, I've got about 1,000 students on scholarships throughout the country in 8 different colleges, and then crippled children's hospitals and other hospitals, churches, and that's better than me getting, because if I got the income from that, it'd go for taxes. I say that's where the Lord has saved me, I think, for that kind of a deal, don't you see? Highly appreciate this medal. These are such few of us had it, John. Thank you so much.
Take care.
In June 1980, Sanders was diagnosed with acute leukemia, from which he eventually passed away on December 16, 1980, at the age of 90.
Colonel Sanders didn't live to be 100 as he hoped, but his 90 years were filled with enough accomplishment for a couple of lifetimes. He died this morning at 7:40 in Jewish Hospital.
The state of Kentucky celebrated the man whose life work had become synonymous with it. He lay in state at the rotunda of the Kentucky State Capitol until his funeral service. Colonel Harlan David Sanders was then buried in his trademark white suit at the Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville. While most of us think of Colonel Sanders as the man in white suit, he truly symbolized the best of America's work ethic and values. Coming from extreme poverty, he managed to make a comfortable life for himself and his family, only to have it come crashing down when he least expected it. Undefeated, the 65-year-old colonel mustered the strength and will of men half his age and made a fortune while carving his name and iconic image into American pop culture history.
If you're a dreamer and I do it, back up your dreams. I think a dream is just a suggestion to you. You do start something else, do something, whatever. Even if you're on your own job, why you'll dream about different things. And you can always relate it to something in your life and make it better.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified of new videos.